geometry students to class today on this Monday the 8th. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're ready to go over your tests and your quizzes today. Let's go ahead and take a look at our announcements for today. First of all, on Monday we will let's look at the weekly schedule. First of all, on Monday today, we're going to go over your quiz and your test. And once again, I want to remind you guys that we will not have this problem again where we go over your tests and quizzes this late. It's my fault. I apologize. But from now on, even if I have to make brand new tests for people that missed the quiz or test, that's fine. I'm willing to work hard for you guys to make sure that we stay on top of this. But from now on, when you take a quiz or a test, we will go over it within a day or two of when you take it. So this will not happen again where we're going over the test and the quiz a week or two later. Okay, so I apologize, and this should not happen again. Okay, today we're going to go over your quiz and your test. Tuesday we're going to do half of a lesson 3.2, linear systems. And by the way, you juniors and seniors that are leaving, you will get this lesson here that you're missing on the Friday that the 10th grade goes to the museum. Okay, and so that's how you're going to get caught up. So listen, juniors and seniors, I would never make, well, it's just juniors. Well, there are a couple seniors. Juniors and seniors, I would never make you make up videos on a trip while you're gone like this. That's not right. And so you do not need to make up any work that we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. You're going to get this lesson, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, excuse me. You will get this lesson here on the Friday the 10th graders are gone to the museum up in Ohio, Cincinnati, Kentucky area. On Wednesday, we're going to do some algebra review for the sophomores. On Thursday, we're going to do some more algebra review for the sophomores. And Friday, some more algebra review. Okay? And so you will not be tested on this information, sophomores. There's no way I was going to give you guys 3 free days. We don't do that. We always cover math, and we always work hard in these classes. And so we're going to do an algebra review. And you will not be tested or quizzed on this material, but you're going to take notes. You're going to be given homework assignments to work on, and you will turn those in for grades. Okay? Moving on, please turn in Monday's homework at this time. Monday's homework is page 93, numbers 13 through 18, and 25 through 35 all. So please go ahead now and turn your homework in. I'm really getting a little perturbed at getting papers without names. Would you please right now check and make sure your name is on your homework, please, and then go ahead and turn your homework in. Okay, incompletes. Let me quickly. This is pre-calculus here. No, this is right. Okay, very good. Cody, I need you to get these assignments in as soon as possible, please. Okay, these 4 assignments right here. Make this a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger. Okay, please get these assignments in. There's 4 of them. They were due on Friday, but you weren't here Friday. I understand that, so I'm not upset. But you've got to get these turned in. You owe me a quiz also by Friday. So quiz by Friday. Aaron, quiz by Friday. Okay, Brian, you're missing this assignment here. Maybe Brian, you might have taken the quiz so long in class, maybe you didn't get a chance to get it turned in, which is totally fine. I'm not bothered by this, but this assignment right here was given to you Thursday, and it was due Friday, but I never got it. So check your notebook, see if you have it, and if you haven't, go ahead and turn it in now. Aaron, you probably have it done too, because you were here Thursday. You just weren't here Friday to turn it in. So check your notes and see if you have those anywhere. Okay? All right, moving on. That's not what I wanted. And here we go. Okay, incomplete. Okay, go ahead and get out your quizzes and tests, and let's go over these now at this time. So if they've not been passed out to you yet, then go ahead and pause the video. And Ms. Frampton, go ahead and pass them out now at this time. If they are passed out, let's go ahead and go over your tests and quizzes. I really, really, really want to make sure that you take good notes on your on the problems that you missed, and make sure you really are able to find your mistakes. Now, before I go over the quizzes and tests, I need to do some explaining on how I graded your quizzes, first of all, okay? So please listen carefully. We're going to start with your quizzes. Everyone get out your quizzes, please. Everyone get out your quizzes. Now, some of you have a grade. I'm just making something up. Some of you have a grade like this on your quiz. Okay, well, it says 100. And then it's crossed off and it says 99. What happened is this. Please listen to me. I graded your quiz and I gave you a 100. because 96 plus 5 would be 100. We don't go over 100%. But then afterwards, I graded some quizzes that were perfect, and this is not my rule, this is Berean's rule. If one student has a perfect paper, then no one else can get a perfect paper, even with bonus points. The highest they can get is a 99. So, if you have something like this, then your grade is a 99. Okay? Alright, now, there's something else. Some of you have papers that look like this. I'm just making this up. You have something like 72 plus 5 equals 77, and then you have something like 81 plus 5 equals 86. And you have two scores on your quizzes. It looks just like this. Something like that. For those people that have two grades on their quizzes like this, the grade that you got was the higher grade. And I'm going to explain what happened right now. Numbers 4, 3. Well, I don't want to show that right now. If you look at your quiz, numbers 3 and 5 were definitely tough, and I know a lot of you struggle with those. Let me tell you what I was trying to accomplish with numbers 3 and 5. We have some new students. We also have some freshmen that are coming in. They've already had Algebra 1. We also have sophomores who have Algebra 1. However, we have juniors who have had Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And I know they're going to be pretty strong on their algebra properties, but the rest of you might be too. I just wasn't sure. So I wanted to give you a couple problems. Numbers 3 and 5. Please listen, students. Listen to me. Numbers 3 and 5 that tied algebra and geometry together. And so what I did is I graded your quiz. I could see they were going to be a little low, so I went back and changed the format. And here's what I did: I counted I counted numbers 3 and 5 as 1 point each, which is fair. 1 point. So if you missed those, both of them, you got a 98. But what that did, now think about it, students, what that did is that raised the points off on all the other ones. Now you might say, well, Mr. Eric, that's not fair. I got those right. Well, hold on a second. The other problems on the quiz, no, I mean, I'm not being mean, but no one should have really missed those. I mean, distance formula, midpoint formula, stuff like that, okay? And so these two problems here, I went ahead and made them worth 1 point each, okay? So if you want to know, if you want to check my work and make sure I graded your quiz correctly, listen to me carefully. If you missed number 3, take off 1 point. If you missed number 5, take off 1 point. Any other numbers you missed should look something like this. Let's say you missed number 4. Okay, there's going to be an X on it or a line, and it's going to say -1 or -2 or -3. That doesn't mean points, that means mistakes, okay? So what you do is you go through your test and you add all of these up. So number 4, let's say it says -1. Let's say number 6 says -2. Let's say number 7 says -2. And so add all of those up. You had 5 total mistakes, okay? The first mistake you made was 5 points off. The second mistake you made was 9 points off. Let's see, hold on 1 second here. Okay, students, I'm back. Sorry about that quick break there. I wanted to make sure I had this right, so I went and checked. It's kind of confusing, and again, just do the best you can. If the first mistake that you made was, hold on 1 second, please. The first mistake that you made was, if I can get this T erased, it's not working very well. Anyways, the first mistake you made was 5 points off, and then every mistake thereafter was 7 points off, okay? However, and again, this is really difficult to explain. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me via an email. That was if you got numbers 3 and 5 right, okay? Because if you got 3 and 5 right, then it was less points off for each mistake. However, if you missed 3 and 5, then it was 1 point for each of those, and then every mistake was like this. Your first mistake was 5, and every mistake thereafter was 10 points off. And so it's kind of give and take. I know that's hard to understand. I'm sorry if it's not making sense, but my point is this. Numbers 3 and 5 were the problems that were missed the most, more than any other problem, and that was more than reasonable. I just took 1 point off on each of those if you missed it. However, let me say this. Guys, there are certain prerequisites you have to take a class. For example, when you walked into Algebra 1, your teacher expected you to know what 2 to the third power was. When you walked into Algebra 2, your teacher expected you to know how to take a simple equation like this and solve it. And when you come into geometry, I definitely expect you to know how to do some things. And so I'm not always going to be this gracious when I grade your stuff. And one thing I could have done a better job is I could have given you some problems like this on your homework to better prepare you. And so for not doing that, I apologize. However, they still were not super difficult, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and go over your quizzes first, and then we'll go over your tests. I want you to take great notes. At Mrs. Frampton, if you see someone not taking notes, please make sure they're taking notes. Everyone should be taking notes on the problems that they missed. Now, if we're going over a problem you didn't miss, then please sit there quietly. Don't disturb class. There were some 100s. There were plenty of perfect quiz papers. The class average was at 88. That's very good. That's very good. 85 or higher is good. Okay, so most of you did fine. But still, take notes on the ones that you missed. So here we go. Please get out your quizzes. Please want to learn. Please want to find your mistakes, and please improve. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with number 3. Now here's what it says. J is between H and K on a segment. Find the value of W. Now look, J is between H and K. So here's my segment. This is really easy. Here's H. Here's K, and we'll just throw J right over here. J does not have to be in the middle. Nowhere does it say J is the midpoint. Do you see that, students? Nowhere does it say J is the midpoint. Nowhere. Okay? It just says J is between H and K. So that means J, H, and K are all what? Remember the word? They're all collinear. They all lie in the same line. And J is between H and K. Now, before I get to this algebra part right here, please give me your undivided attention if you missed this problem. Look, guys, if I told you HJ was 10 and I told you JK was 3, how would you find the length of HK? Well, you would say HK equals what? 10 plus 3. Would you not? Sure you would. From here to here's 10, from here to here's 3, so the whole length all the way across is 10 plus 3. Now, students, think about what you just said. Think about what you just did. So if that's true, instead of having a 10 and a 3, HJ is 2W plus 5, so write that right here. And JK is 3W minus 7. So if I know that KH, look right here, students, KH is 18. That means the entire length from H to K is 18. So think about it. If I take this segment here, HJ, plus this segment here, it's going to equal 18. Just like 10 plus 3 would equal what? 13. And so hopefully you see that. Okay, it really wasn't that hard. You have this segment here, 2W plus 5, plus this segment here, and that will equal the entire segment here. So we have an algebra equation. Here's the algebra equation. Here's this segment here. Here's this segment here. So I add them. 2W plus 5 plus 3W minus 7 equals, and what does it equal? It equals the whole segment. Well, what is the whole segment? 18. So there's your equation. Look at that, students. It's not that bad. You have a simple linear equation. So with that in mind, you should know from Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, you simplify both sides. Now, you cannot simplify this side, but you can simplify this side. You have a W term here and a W term here. So put them together. 2W plus 3W is 5W. And by the way, if you struggle with sign numbers, use your calculators. Like, look, here's a constant term, and here's a constant term. That means a number with no letter, with no variable. Well, if you're not good at combining a positive 5 and a negative 7, then use your calculator. A positive 5 and a negative 7 is negative 2. And so if you simplify this left side right here, you'll get this. you'll get 5w, 2w plus 3w is 5w, minus 2, because here's your 5 and here's your negative 7, and it gives you a negative 2. So I put these two terms together and got 5w. I put these two terms together and got a negative 2, and that all equals 18. Now, I cannot simplify this side any further. I cannot simplify this side any further, so my goal is to get w by itself. If I want to get w by itself, I need to get rid of my 5, and I need to get rid of my negative 2. Well, you get rid of the negative 2 first. You always wait. The coefficient of the w, or whatever your unknown is, you always get rid of this last, always. So to get rid of negative 2, I'm going to bring the negative 2 over and make it a positive 2. Alright, so if I do that correctly, I'm left with this. 5w equals 20. And now, to get rid of this 5, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And when I do that, these will cancel, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So I'm left with w equals 4. There it is. I'll pause a second while you get caught up. But that was really not too difficult of a problem, okay? As long as you understood this segment here was 2w plus 5, and this segment here is 3w minus 7, and then you added them together and set it equal to 18, because 18 is the entire length, then it wasn't too difficult. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Now this one was a little more difficult. Well, this was a little interesting, and hopefully, I guess I can't do that. Hold on one second. Okay. Hopefully you can see this on your quiz, okay? But most of you, like by far, most of the class got this right, but a couple of you missed it. So if you missed it, please take some notes. I ask you to find the measure of BDC. So here's B, down to D, over to C. So you're trying to find this angle from here to here. And some of you put 150 for your answer, or other answers over here, whatever. I guess it wasn't 150. Some of you put different answers. But I want you to find this angle here. Then notice what I told you. I wanted to make sure there was no confusion on what 150 equals. Okay, look. Please notice that 150 is the measure of the whole angle ADC. So from A to D to C, this entire angle is 150. Okay? And then this little angle here in red, this little angle right here in red, is 35 degrees. So I want you to find this angle right here. Now, really watch this carefully, okay? I'm going to take my tracer here, and I'm going to trace this to here, and then this to here. There. Now, I'm going to pull that down, okay? Well, I was going to try to. Let's do this instead, and maybe it's not meant to be. Okay, now, look, students. This is A, this is D, and this is C. A, D, C. And that whole angle is 150. So this whole angle is 150. That whole angle. Now think about it. If I cut off a little piece here, that's 35 degrees. If I cut off a little piece here, and I call that little piece 35 degrees, how do I find this leftover piece? Would it not be 150 minus the 35 degrees? Sure it would be. And that's 115 degrees, okay? So this angle right here is 115. And how do I know that? Well, students, if you take this angle here with one dot and this angle here with two dots, and you add them together, you get 150, which is right, because this whole angle all the way across is 150. So the answer was 115, okay? All right, let's take a look at number 5 now. Now, if you missed number 5, please take some really good notes, okay? Here we go. Now, first of all, students, notice something. Hold on one second, students. Okay, I want to erase this. Now, look, listen to me very carefully. It says Q is in the interior of POR. So you should have drawn somewhere POR and put Q in the interior. I'm not being mean, but that's really common sense. I mean, let Q be in the interior of angle POR. So you draw angle POR, then you put Q in the interior, and you draw a ray. And there we go. Now, let me ask y'all a question. If I told you this was, I don't know, 20 degrees, and I told you this angle here is 25 degrees, how would you find the big angle? Would you not take 20 plus 25, and that would give you 45, which is the whole angle? In other words, you would take angle POQ, 20 degrees, plus angle QOR, which is 25 degrees, and that would equal the big angle, angle POR. Do you see that okay, students? Angle 20 degrees would be POQ. The 25 degrees would be angle QOR, and the whole angle is POR. Now, since I just showed that to you, then it should make total sense. So it's going to make total sense that what I'm going to do, students, is this. You have to realize I don't have 20 degrees and 25 degrees. That's not what I have. Instead, I have algebra expressions. So for this right here, for POQ, here it is, POQ is S plus 4. So this angle here is S plus 4. And this angle QOR is 2S minus 2, right? So think about it, students. For angle POQ, I'm going to put S plus 4. Then bring down your plus sign, plus angle QOR. Well, angle QOR is 2S minus 2. So when you take this angle here and add this angle to it, you get angle POR. Well, what is angle POR? It's 26. And look, I've got an algebra equation right here. I can solve for S. There it is. S, I'm going to put little lines here so you know it's not a 5. There we go. S plus 4 plus 2S minus 2 equals 26. So here we go. There's my equation. And remember, we want to simplify the right side and simplify the left side. Now, we cannot simplify the right side. However, we can simplify the left side. All right? Let me go ahead and do something here real quick. I think my mimeopad just went dead. So let me use the mouse here real quick. Yep, it just went dead. Okay. So I can't simplify the right side, but I can simplify the left side. I've got an S term here and an S term here. S plus 2S is 3S. And look, I've got a constant term here, 4, and a constant term here. So if I combine those like terms, I will get this right here. S plus 2S is 3S. 4 minus 2 is 2. Now, I cannot simplify this side any further, and I cannot simplify this side any further. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get S all by itself. So I'm first of all going to get rid of this positive 2. I'm going to bring it over and make it a negative 2. Now if I do that correctly, now my numbers will be a little sloppy. I'm using a mouse now, so understand that. I'll get 3S equals 24. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And if I do that correctly, these will cancel. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I will get S equals 8. Moving on. Number 6. Hopefully that made sense. Let me go back to number 5. So that's basically it. It was setting up an algebra equation and solving. Now, where I owe you guys an apology is I should have given you some of these on your homework before I gave them to you on a quiz. But yet remember, I compensated by counting them for 1 as 1 point each. Okay? Let's continue on to number 6. Okay, students, on to number 6. Now, on number 6, we're going to find the distance between 2 points. If you did not have the distance formula correct, I'm not belittling you or criticizing, but that's totally your fault, guys. I mean, you have to have memorized the formulas that you're told to know for a quiz. Now, some of you had plus signs here like this. Some of you had a minus sign here. And again, I'm not being critical. If you had the formula wrong and everything else was okay, I just took off one mistake, okay? But then if you made another mistake down here, I took off another mistake. But it is your job to know the formulas that I give you to use on these different tests and quizzes. So this is the distance formula in which you find the distance between 2 points. And so we're going to use this formula here. Now remember, this is your x. And remember, students, I'm using a mouse because my mimeopad went dead on me, so it's not going to be very neat using a mouse. But this is your x, this is your y, this is your x, this is your y. So students, here we go. I'm going to substitute my x's and my y's in. Here's what you get. For this x, I put a -7. For this x, I put a 3. And you bring down your negative sign, so -7 minus 3. For this y here, I put a 3, which is this y right here, and then minus, bring down your minus sign, and then put in -3 for y. So 3 minus a -3. Now students, be really careful here with your signs and use calculators. When I teach high school math, in Algebra 1, I don't let students use calculators until usually the first 9 weeks is over, or the first semester, around in there, okay? But from here on out, Algebra 2, Geometry, feel free to use calculators. So you have -7 minus 3 and 3 minus a -3. If you simplify those correctly, you will get a -10 in this parentheses and a 6 in this parentheses. If you square a -10, you'll get a 100, and if you square 6, you'll get 36. So you have this. And then if you add those two together, you will get 136. Now some of you took this. This is totally sufficient. That is a perfect answer. I gave you full credit for that. Some of you typed it into your calculator and you got out 11.2, I believe, and that was fine. Others of you did this. You remembered how to simplify a radical, so you broke 136 up into 4 times 34. And then you took the square root of 4 and put a 2 on the outside, crossed off the 4, and you did this. That was fine also. Any of those answers were acceptable. Okay? All right, moving on to number 7. Find the midpoint between 2 points. So if I ask you to find the distance between 2 points, this is your formula. It is your job to memorize it. If I ask you to find the midpoint between 2 points, this is your formula. It is your job to memorize it, okay? So having said that, let's go ahead and make our substitutions. Here's my x plus x, so -7 plus 3. Here's my x, and here's my x. And then I have y plus y. Here's my y, and here's my y. So -3 plus a -3. Now again, if you're weak with your sign numbers, then use a calculator for this part. Use a calculator for this part. Nothing wrong with that. A -7 plus 3 is -4. A 3 plus a -3 is 0. All right, let's continue on. -4 over a +2 would be a -2, and 0 over 2 is 0. So there's the midpoint. Okay? All right, moving on to number 8. Now, students, listen, I wasn't necessarily trying to trick you. It's just your job to know which part's the conclusion and which part's the hypothesis, okay? The if part is your hypothesis. So you should have typed, if our volleyball team plays Fairview, that should have gone right here, not here. If you missed, most of you that missed this got these two turned around. I wasn't trying to trick you by putting conclusion first. I just expect you to know the if part is the hypothesis and the conclusion is the then part. So then the second part, the then part, would go right here. Okay? And so that's just something you have to memorize and you have to know. Now, I got a lot of different answers for this one, okay? Find a counterexample for the following statement. Now listen, students. Not every statement has a counterexample. Listen, if a conditional statement is true, then it will not have a counterexample. A conditional statement only has a counterexample if it's not true. And this is not a true saying. If the sum of two numbers is positive, then both numbers must be positive. I mean, it sounds good. I mean, here's 4 plus 2, and you get 6. Both numbers are positive, and your answer is positive. But there are other examples I can give you in which when you add the two numbers, you get a positive number, but both numbers were not positive. Let me give you an example. If I have a positive 4 plus a negative 2. There we go. A positive 4 plus a negative 2 would give me 2. So, my answer is positive, but both of these numbers are not positive. So this would be an awesome counterexample, okay? Because it proves this wrong. This statement said if the sum of two numbers is positive, then both numbers must be positive. That is not true. And I just gave you an example where it wasn't true, okay? All right, let's continue on. Okay, let's go over your test now. You can keep your quizzes and your tests. I'm going to make different ones for the students to make up the quizzes. But let's go over your test now. Please, every single problem you missed, please take notes on. Please learn from your mistakes, okay? Here we go. First of all, this problem here would have horizontal symmetry, definitely. It would have vertical symmetry, definitely. And then, let me do this real quick. If I take this same thing and I start rotating it, when I go right there, it's identical to the figure to the left. And if I keep going, it's identical again. So it definitely has rotational symmetry. It had rotational symmetry two different times, okay? So definitely number 7 had horizontal symmetry, it had vertical symmetry, and it had rotational symmetry. All right, number 8. Number 8. Okay, now there's no way we have vertical symmetry. There's no way we have horizontal symmetry. And if you were to take this and copy it and then rotate it, never do you get the identical figure to the left. There, I rotated it 180 degrees and it never matched the figure over here to the left, okay? So, we do not have rotational symmetry. All right, let's take a look at number 9. Now, I definitely have horizontal symmetry, no doubt. It cuts it right in half. I definitely have vertical symmetry, excuse me. I don't have horizontal symmetry, okay? And then also, rotational, not at all. If I rotate this thing all the way to here, never did it look like the original figure, okay? Now let's take a look at number 10 here, and we'll be finished. We definitely do not have vertical symmetry. However, we definitely have horizontal symmetry, definitely, okay? And then, if you take this figure and you copy it and then you rotate it, never does it look like the original figure. Never. Unless you go all the way back to the beginning like that, okay? So we do not have rotational symmetry, all right? Now, number 11, please take really good notes on this if you missed it. Number 11 was not meant to be that tricky. Some of you said -3 was the slope and 6 was the slope. And remember, students, whenever an equation, let's go ahead and do it like this. Remember this formula from Algebra 1, Algebra 2? Y equals mx plus b. Well, look, m is your slope. M is your slope, or your m is always the number that's right beside the x, okay? Well, the number that's beside the x up here is negative 3. So the top equation has a slope of negative 3. The number next to the x down here is 1/3. And so your slope for the bottom equation is 1/3, not 6. So look what you have, students. First of all, one slope is positive and one slope is negative. Secondly, the slopes are reciprocals. In other words, if you take 3 and flip it, you'll get 1/3. Or if you take 1/3 and flip it, you'll get 3. So the two slopes are opposite. They have two different signs. They're reciprocals, and so we should know what that means. That means they are perpendicular, okay? And the reason would be the slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other, all right? And so that's the reason why, okay? All right, moving on to numbers 12, 13, and 14. Or excuse me, number 12 has 3 parts. Students, you were asked to find the slope of AB, AC, and DC. Now again, all of you should have gotten this right. The formula to finding the slope of a line is this right here. Y minus Y over X minus X, okay? Now, if you know that formula, it's not too difficult. Here's point A, 1 comma 2. Here's point B, 4 comma 4. I'm not being mean, but you knew these were going to be on the test. They were on your review sheet. And some of you did not know this formula. Okay, and that's your fault. You have to know that, okay? All right, here we go. Let's see. For your numerator, y minus y, and your denominator, x minus x, you would have 2 minus 4 and 1 minus 4. This is your x, this is your y, this is your x, this is your y. Mr. Earhart, doesn't matter which number you put in first. Look, if you put this x in first, then you've got to put this y in first. If you put this x in first, that's fine, as long as you put this y in first, okay? So it doesn't matter which point you put in first, as long as you're consistent through the entire problem, okay? So y minus y, 2 minus 4, x minus x, 1 minus 4, 2 minus 4 is a negative 2, 1 minus 4 is negative 3. A negative over a negative makes the whole fraction positive. So there we go. The slope is 2/3. Now let's take a look at this part right over here. Okay. First of all, point A is 1 comma 2, and point C is 3 comma negative 1. Okay. Now, using your formula from right over here, we would have this next. We would have 2 minus a negative 1, y minus y, 1 minus 3 is x minus x. If you simplify 2 minus a negative 1, you get 3. And if you simplify 1 minus 3, you get a negative 2. Okay? Now, notice we have a positive 3 in the numerator. So, a positive 3 over a negative 2, a positive divided by a negative, makes the whole fraction negative. So you get negative 3/2. Okay? Not too difficult. Again, we're just using this formula here. Just make sure you get the 2 right points, and make sure you use the formula correctly, and make sure you simplify correctly down through here, and you'll be totally fine, okay? All right, let's go ahead and find the slope of DC. All right, here's point D, negative 3, negative 5. Here's C, 3, negative 1. All right, now, we're going to find the slope of DC. So here we go. Y minus y would be negative 5 minus a negative 1. X minus x would be negative 3 minus 3. If you simplify the numerator, negative 5 minus a negative 1, you will get negative 4. And a negative 3 and a negative 3 is a negative 6. And now watch carefully, students. A negative divided by a negative makes the whole fraction become positive. Plus, we're going to reduce 4/6 and get 2/3. So, positive 2/3. Okay? Now, let me show you something here very quickly. What I've done is I have found the slope the slopes of these three lines, okay? Now, I'm going to put them up here. There's your slopes, okay? Now, here's questions 13 and 14, okay? Now watch this carefully. You've got to learn to write your answers really well, students. Look, which segments are parallel? Well, they must have identical slopes. This is 2/3 and this is 2/3. So that means segment AB is parallel to segment DC. So I would write this. I would write A, B, and again, it's really hard to write with the mouse, so be patient with me. AB is parallel to DC. There you go. AB is parallel to DC. Now let's talk about the perpendicular lines, okay? Remember, if a slope is an opposite reciprocal, then those two lines are perpendicular. So with that in mind, notice we have positive 2/3 here and then negative 3/2 here. So the two slopes have opposite signs. One's positive, one's negative. And if you flip 2/3, you get 3/2, or if you flip 3/2, you get 2/3. So AB and AC are perpendicular. And I'm not going to write that. It's so hard to write that without a, well, I'll try to type it for you. So AB is perpendicular to AC. Now, look at this. Here's a negative 3/2. Here's a positive 2/3. One slope is positive, one slope is negative. Okay? And notice 3/2 when you flip it is 2/3. And when you flip 2/3, you get 3/2. So these two lines here are perpendicular. So I could type AC is perpendicular to DC. There we go. And so 14 had two different answers, okay? I hope that makes sense. You first have to find the slopes and then compare them to see if the lines are parallel or perpendicular. Okay, students, let's continue on now to number 15. Find the midpoint between the two given points. Okay, so we've done one like this earlier, but I'll go through it very quickly again. We went over one like this that was on your quiz a little bit ago, but real quick, if I ask you to find the midpoint between 2 points, you use this formula right here: x plus x over 2, y plus y over 2. Okay, and here's your 2 points. So very quickly, 5 plus negative 4 over 2, negative 6 plus negative 8 over 2. If you simplify 5 plus negative 4, you get 1. If you simplify negative 6 plus negative 8, you will get negative 14. And then, of course, 1/2 will stay 1/2, but negative 14 over 2 is negative 7. Okay? And so there we go. That's the midpoint between those two given points. Okay, on to the, I believe, the back page now. And students, I'll do this very quickly, and please take good notes on this. But again, it was really your job to have memorized all of the steps that help you do these constructions, okay? And so there's really nothing I could do here for you except you had to memorize these on your own, okay? And so here we go. For this problem here, I asked you to copy a segment. So step 1 was to draw a segment longer than the one you're copying, and then you take your compass and you put your needle right here, and you open your compass up so it makes a slash right here, and then you come down and you put your needle right here, and you make a slash right here, and I guess we can call those 2 points, I don't know, C and D, and there we can say segment CD is congruent to segment AB. Okay? Alright. Next, this one here, the next problem, I'm not sure of the number. Let me check real quick. Number 17. You were asked to bisect the segment. So what you do is you open up your compass so that it's bigger than half the segment. So put your needle here and open up your compass till it's about right over here, okay? And then leaving your needle here, you're going to make a big circle like this, and then pick up your compass and make sure you don't bump it or anything, okay? And put your needle right here, and draw another circle. Of course, mine's way off. It's not going to be perfect. That's fine. Not a big deal. I'll cheat a little bit there and slide mine over. And then you've got a point here and a point here. And what you do then is you connect those 2 points, and that should be a segment that bisects the segment right in the middle, okay? And again, it was just up to you to memorize the steps, okay? All right, moving on to this problem here. Now, what you're supposed to do first is open up your compass and make a circle. So let's say you made a circle like this, okay? So we have a point here. You just ignore E and G there. And then leaving your compass open for the same circle, come over here and make the exact same circle right here. Then you open up your compass from this length here to this length here. Open up your compass so your needle is here and your pencil is here. Then come over here and put your needle right here, and then you're going to make a slash. And it should have been about right there. Okay? And then what you do is you connect that point there and that point there. And there you have your copied angle, okay? All of this was in your notes. All of these steps were in your notes. It was your job to know how to do them, okay? Now, on this problem here, you are asked to bisect an angle. So, the first thing you do, ignore H and J, draw a circle, okay? And so you have this point here and this point here. Then you put your needle here and your pencil here and open up the compass to that length. After you've opened up your compass to this length right here, you put your needle here and put a slash over here, and then put your needle here and make a slash right here, and then you connect this point here and this point here, and that ray should bisect your angle. And again, I'm not being mean. It was your job to know what those steps were, okay? And that's it. Now, I hope going over this test and quiz has been a help to you. That's all we're going to do today. If there's any free time left, please sit there quietly, find something to do. But again, we will not have this situation arise where we go over tests and quizzes a week or two later. We're not going to do that anymore. We will go over tests and quizzes within a day or two after you take them, okay? I hope you guys have a good day today and a good trip at the wilds, and I will talk to you guys next week.